Hey everyone, Corey from Aquarium Co-op, talking live foods tonight. That's kind of a giant subject, so as you guys steer me towards what you want to learn about and talk about, we'll go there, because I'm not sure I can cover everything. There's so many things. I've done enough to know that I'm too lazy to do confused flower beetles and things like that, so there's a lot of stuff. And so I'm going to cover some of the basics. I think we should cover live brine shrimp. Maybe we'll even cover how to breed brine shrimp, which I've done in the past. Maybe we'll cover things like mosquito larvae, microworms, banana worms, vinegar eels, maybe Daphnia. You guys have seen I've done that in the past. Um, someone was asking about crayfish, which crayfish and snails are great for puffers. There's so many live foods. We could even get into if we're feeding live fish, what we're wanting to watch out for. So, for instance, goldfish are bad when you're feeding a live fish just because of the cyanazine. So there's a lot of things to kind of get into, and hopefully, as you guys hit me with the questions, we can kind of delve into some of that. Because I don't want to spend all day talking about feeding goldfish and what's good and bad about it when everyone wants to know about raising vinegar eels for, raising ram fry or something like that. So a lot of people piling in here. Hopefully, maybe we'll hit a new record today. We hit a new record the past like 2 weeks in a row, so I'm hoping to break maybe 700. If you can do me a favor, go ahead and like and share if you haven't already. If your grandma's watching the Wheel of Fortune right now, go ahead and turn that off and put YouTube on for, let's get all the accounts we can going. So, all right. Uh, this is already good. Shrimp tacos. I already like the name, so I'm on board. My brine shrimp hatchery has crashed 3 batches in a row now. So in my time hatching brine shrimp, which I've hatched it out thousands of times at this point between the store and home, and there was a point where I was hatching 3 different batches a day and that kind of thing. In my experience, it was the number one cause was bad eggs. So maybe they had sat out of the freezer for too long, or the source I got them from was kind of bad, or I was loading it up too much. In a 2-liter bottle, I can hatch as many as 2 tablespoons, which is a lot of eggs, but it's right on that cusp of crashing. What I found kind of was some of the important things that I found that really helped up my live brine shrimp game hatching was don't dechlorinate the water. That chlorine that's in the water actually helps break that shell down. That's why sometimes we'll decapsulate brine shrimp eggs, and we will basically dissolve that shell before we hatch. It makes it for a faster and a more uniform hatch. And so yeah, don't dechlorinate. And then for me in my soft water, I actually put a pinch of baking soda in there because they like elevated pH. And then we also want to make sure that the pH isn't fluctuating while they're hatching. And then the next kind of important thing for me is making sure temperature is up in the 76 to 80 range, somewhere in there. And there's different ways you can do that. You can kind of float your contraption, well, not float it, but basically make it live in like an aquarium you set up with a water heater, like a aquarium heater to keep the temperature correctly. You can do it with certain lights. But that's kind of one of the important things. If you sit at like 68 degrees, it might take 3 or 4 days to hatch, and there's so much more likely those eggs are going to go bad as opposed to hatching instead. And in my experience, light has not been critical onto whether I can hatch or not hatch them. I do find it to be very helpful when I'm harvesting those baby brine, though. So I do incorporate it into my system, but not out of a necessity, out of an ease of use thing. So hopefully those tips will get you to where you need to go. And the last tip I got, I guess, for eggs is like I buy them a pound at a time, and the goal would be, take your little vial or some container, fill this up with eggs, keep the rest in the freezer, and the goal would be that like you have enough eggs to last you like a week or so outside, maybe in the fridge or something like that, and then you only go back to the fridge instead of opening the top of it every day and taking your scoop out, putting oxygen back on it, and swapping it out. So yeah, so for everyone that chimed in, by the way, pretty much a lot of us all piled in from Lup Diesel. He goes before me now, so Lup Diesel, or Flip Aquatics, as you might know him as well. So if you're looking for a pre-game show, you can check that out. That's where I hung out for the last hour and a half while I was getting this ready and, preparing mentally. And so yeah. But I think that covers, hatching brine shrimp pretty decently well. And if you already have like really hard water, you're at an advantage compared to me. Or if you just so happen to have like a saltwater tank, your water change water is amazing. Or if you have like an ocean near you, those are all beneficial things also. So, can you feed insects like crickets? You certainly can. Crickets are really good for arowanas, other bigger cichlids like Oscars and let's say Dovi. They're also really cool for like archer fish. You can put them so they like crawl around on sticks out of the water and they'll shoot them down. But yeah, you can definitely do that with crickets. I used to have Lamont bring some crickets in from his house because he had a lot of reptiles whenever we'd get new arowana shipments and stuff like that in. So it really helped them get their first meals into them. And so yeah, there's lots of bugs, whether it's crickets or let's say something like the confused flower beetle, which that's a beetle that likes to live in flour. And if you've ever found like a box of macaroni and cheese at the back of your grandma's cabinets that have been there for 10 years, you might have opened up and there's bugs in it. They look like little beetles. That's what those are. You can keep them in flour, and the cool part about harvesting them is you get like a I guess a sieve or a sifter, and you kind of just get that flour and you just sift, and the flour falls through, and then you've got all these beetles. But the beetles are a little bit big for like community fish and stuff, so it's mostly for cichlids, and you'd have to have it so that the cichlids actually wanted a higher protein diet. So maybe Central and South American cichlids, and maybe some of the predatory African cichlids. So you gotta use caution there. But in general, live foods are, in my opinion, much more balanced than a prepared food, just because they do come with all the roughage of that thing. So exoskeleton and all that also comes with it, and a lot of the stuff we feed that's live actually works as a diuretic as well, which is really nice. So let's see. I'm looking for the next live food someone wants to talk about. Just scrolling down. If I don't get your question, I'll try to get to it, as I can. But we'll see if we can get to them all. Let's see, vinegar eels. So vinegar eels, they live in acidic water, and the easiest way for us to recreate that, and when I say acidic, I'm talking like 3.5, 4.0 pH, I think, off the top of my head. And so we use apple cider vinegar. You can buy it like a gallon, pretty darn cheap. And they feed off detritus. And so the easiest way to feed them is you take like a piece of apple, like a fourth of an apple, and you shove that down the top of that gallon. And then you get your starter culture of vinegar eels from the internet or your friend or whoever, and you put that in there. And then you pretty much, it just will go that way for like 6 months or more. You don't have to do anything. The hardest part about vinegar eels is actually the collection of them, because we don't want to put all that acidic vinegar into our water, into our tank. So, and they're tiny, tiny worms. I mean, these are like almost, like you kind of have to like get it in sunlight to see it. You see like a foggy water or, like a flashlight. And so the tricks that I've kind of seen, and the best one, which was in the fish room tour that came out on Thursday, I knew that you could separate vinegar eels by, if you had a glass of vinegar with vinegar eels, and then you put like water, the water stayed on top, and they would go to that, and you could take them out that way. Well, what I didn't know was the trick of the filter floss. I thought they wouldn't be able to get through it, but they can. So, like, Lawrence Kent was using like a beer bottle, a Corona, because it's clear, and he basically puts like this much of that filter floss down in the neck of that bottle, and below it is all the vinegar with the vinegar eels, and he keeps fresh water up top. And so what he does is he lets vinegar eels come up to the top, and he uses a pipette, and he gets them, and he goes and feeds his like licorice gouramis and all those super duper tiny, tiny fry. And then, as water evaporates / he uses it up, he just tops it off with fresh water, and then he has to remake those, bottles every, month or 2 months, whenever they stop really producing the amount he wants. And he keeps like 4 or 5 of those bottles going at any one time. And that brings up a good point. When it comes to live cultures, kind of always having at least 2. So you've got one you're harvesting out of, and then another one that's the backup in case something goes wrong. Like with microworms or something, you might have like mites or something like that get into it, and it's really hard to clean up a culture like that again. And so it's easier just to throw that one out and start with a new one. In fact, I shot a video today of how to make, I made banana and microworm cultures, and so this was just made today, so it's got no worms up on the side, but this is a microworm culture, and I've got this floss on the top so that bugs can't get in, but we can still allow air to go in and out of this. And what's going to happen is we inoculated it with some microworms, and it's going to basically feed on the mashed potatoes that I use, which that's a tip. Mashed potatoes don't stink nearly as bad as oatmeal. But once I get, a big thick chunk of worms, these are very tiny worms, by the way, around the ring here, you just take your finger, you wrap it around, you put it in the tank, and you just release like 5 billion worms. And, I'm doing a whole video on this, but basically something like this, once you buy it, if you stayed on top of it, you'll never have to buy it again. You can make it as big as you want. You can do it in a 5-gallon bucket, which that would be quite a bit. But you restart this culture every 3 to 5 weeks or so, and you'll have an unlimited source of kind of baby fry foods, pretty good. So it's a real easy one. That's a good thing, is you can just let it sit on the tank, you feed it there, no problems at all. So I'm going to grab a drink, and I'm going to jump into the next one, and I have to preface the next one by knowing that I haven't done it in mass quantity yet. So someone asked, how do you culture blackworms? So blackworms, there's a lot of things. I've done a lot of research. When I say a lot of research, I would say I'm at 200 or 300 hours internet research, in-person research, trying and failing, because blackworms, I like them so much for breeding corridors and stuff, and I want to be able to either store or breed massive quantities of them. So the more I can learn, the better. The way they're done in the farms, one of two ways. One, have insane amounts of land. They'll naturally reproduce over periods of time. So if you have acres and acres of land where you can have ponds and you can keep them aerated through the right temperatures and not let them get too cold, that's the best way. And that's California has 2 farms, and they supply almost the entire U.S. basically with blackworms, and it's because they have the right climate to do it. Now, Washington's been heating up a little bit. I've been playing with it a little bit. I haven't, we still get colder than they do, but, I haven't figured it out quite yet. The other way is to chop the worms up. When you cut them in half, they make 2 worms. They'll divide because they're a segmented worm. And that's labor intensive though, so I want to kind of conquer the natural reproduction, which it takes longer for them to do it naturally than it does to cut them. But whenever you don't have to actively put work into something like that, it's a better thing, especially when it's a feeder item. So the challenges you run into are keeping correct temperatures and then keeping enough oxygen in the water without just throwing the worms all around. And that's one of the hardest parts, actually. And so the first thing I learned in research papers and stuff like that, is when the worms have their body up at the surface of the water, that's actually their anus. They breathe through their anus. So their mouths are down in the gravel or sand, and it's their butt basically that they can physically pipe oxygen straight from the air into them in low oxygen environments, and that's where you see it in the wild a lot of times. They'll be in very shallow water, and they can have very big densities. So that's one tactic. The other tactic is to have a flow-through system that is very gentle and a huge surface area, but then, like, let's say you had a 2,000-gallon pond where you really aerated it with lots of air. It was really turbulent, but then, like, 1 gallon an hour hit the next pond that was only like 100 gallons, and that would help keep that oxygenated without keeping them all whipped up. And so there's something to be said for that. And then after all of those things, we still have to feed these worms, and they're filter feeders, right? And one of the ways that people do it at home will use like brown paper towels or something like that. They'll eat anything because they're a detrivore. They're like the lowest level of organism almost. They break down almost anything. And so you can use green water, you can use spirulina powder you buy, you could use crushed up fish flake. What you feed them almost doesn't matter, except for we want to make sure we don't foul the water, because we can't do big water changes because it disturbs the worms too much. So we need, like, if you had that 2,000 gallon thing of water, if it was green water, and let's say you had like an insane amount of goldfish living in that, and then the gallon of green water was landing every hour, that's your food source. And then, eventually it would kind of recirculate all the way around. But that's, I think, the best way to do it. In your own personal home aquarium, if you're just wanting to make a few worms, like let's say you had a 10-gallon tank and you want to make live black worms and you have one scarlet batis or one dwarf frog in another tank, you could do that. Just put marbles down or some bigger gravel and keep a air stone going in there, and maybe put in like a quarter of an algae wafer every third or fourth day or something like that. And, that would pretty much be how you would do it. You would make more. You could even make more in your own aquarium as long as you don't have anything rooting down to eat them. But the other thing to know, they're very sensitive to chlorine. So you need to have either very low levels of chlorine in your tap water if you're going to rinse them or anything like that. Or B, you got to off-gas all that or treat it before you change water on them. So that's the easiest quick down and dirty methods of blackworms that I know. And I've tried a lot of different configurations, and I intend to try it a lot more at some point. I just haven't gotten to that point yet, and I always say, I'm going to do it, but right now I'm on the Daphnia train. So I'm going to scroll down because I know I probably missed like 1,000 billion comments because it's way up there. Let's see. So, is Dorkula here? Nope, she's at work. It's just me today. Let's see. Good, my Nightbot is working. I don't know what they're deleting, but... oh yeah, it's just someone typed in all caps and stuff like that. Yeah, it gets people. So anyway, let's see. What's the next live food someone wants to talk about? I'm scrolling up here. Let's see. Corey, I know feeder goldfish are bad, but I don't know the reasons why. So Caleb, RC Crawlers... well, before I get into this, I want to address the super chat because I don't want to forget it. And if I have missed the super chat, because I scrolled by a lot, by the way, I apologize. And someone let me know, and I'll definitely get to the bottom of that. But let me grab this real quick. How can I tell the gender of my guppy fry before they are old enough to get pregnant? That's really difficult. Usually you got to watch them like a hawk, and the males will start to get a little bit of point to that anal fin. And it takes a while to go from a triangle shape to... the gender. Also, sometimes you get a little hint of color early on, and that can be a good sign as well. But there's no like telltale signs, super duper easy, premature of the breeding. I mean, you got like a couple of weeks before they start breeding, but you really got to be watching them every day, and you got to basically got to look at your tank and sort them every day, going, oh, I think you're female, I think you're male, I think you're female, I think you're male, and then you got to go back to those tanks every day and go, did I guess right? Okay, let me move them around. And it's pretty labor intensive, so. That's my advice. But back to feeder goldfish. The reason why feeder goldfish are bad, there's twofold. The first one being a feeder goldfish from a pet store, just from the pet store, typically has lots of ammonia burn, very underweight, and could have disease and parasites and that type of thing. And when I say could, it's got decent chances, right? It's only a matter of time. Let's say it has a 5% chance that each fish has a disease. Well, if you're feeding, 20 feeders, that's not quite 100% because I know statistics aren't going to work that way, but let's say it's a fairly good chance you're going to bring in disease, let alone if you do that every week, it's only a matter of time before you introduce disease. That's kind of the problem there. Also, they're mostly kind of skin, muscle tissue, organs, and bones at that point because they're so skinny. Now, if you were to take those, quarantine them, clean them up yourselves in a quarantine tank, and then feed them really, really well, that makes a lot of sense. But there's also the second point is if you only ever fed lots of goldfish, there's I think the chemical is called thionazine. I know I'm saying it wrong, but it's close enough to know what you need. That in high levels has been proven to be toxic in some fish and can really lead to lateral line erosion, kidney failure, and hole in the head. And so that's usually on extreme cases where like an Oscar or an arowana or something, or a big predatory fish is only ever eating that. Like it's like, okay, here's your bag of 50, goldfish every week for years on end. That's where you get that problem. So if we can avoid that, that's a good thing. And obviously, if we were able to, vary up the diet, that's a really good thing too. And so, I think best live fish should be used as a delivery system for nutrients. So if you can feed that goldfish, like let's say you had like this red-tailed cat. What's a bad example? I'll eat anything. But let's say you had this tigrinus catfish on the back of here, right? Let's say it will not eat dry foods. It will not eat this massivore. If you fed this massivore to the goldfish and then fed the goldfish to that tigrinus, that's a way to get nutrients into that tigrinus catfish, and that makes a lot of sense. So, use it as a food delivery or a nutrient delivery system. What fish eat scuds? I have way too many. Darrow, I find guppies will eat small ones. Adult scuds, you need bigger fish like maybe epistogrammas, maybe angels, maybe platies and swordtails. African cichlids definitely will. You also don't want something too big. If you get like an Oscar that's this big, he's going to see a scud that's that big and go, not worth my time. So you need a right size fish. You might see that like pearl gouramis, moonlight gouramis, those types of things that are kind of predatory and the right size would do it. I bet you rainbow fish would do it. But anything, I would say probably that 4-inch fish mark is right in the area that probably needs to be for them to really chow down on them. Are dead roaches good fish food? That I don't know. I know people that'll do like the W roaches for fish, but I don't know about dead. And are these like you're propagating them or you're just finding them? Because I'm always worried that like my live foods have gotten into something I don't like possibly, like a poison or something like that. Like you don't want that to be going on either. So. My Amazon puffer's really picky with food still. They do not eat krill, snails, and other hard foods, but they love Stenkar discus food, and of course bloodworms. What would I do? So for me, what I do if I get a fish that's really stubborn, I would feed them really well for a couple weeks, really put on a lot of body fat, and then starve them for up to a couple of weeks, and really try to get them onto like that pond snail or something else. And then, like, if they got way too skinny again, I'd repeat the process. Build up all that body fat, try again with a different food. Most people I run into, they stop after, like, 3 days. Like, he hasn't eaten in 3 days. The puffer can go 10, 14 days, kind of no problem. And usually they'll give in at, like, day 7 or something like that. But we, as compassionate fish keepers, give in before them a lot of times. Same method with stingrays and datnoids and a lot of other the finicky feeders sometimes. Is it bad to feed mealworms or superworms to your cichlids? They're pretty high protein. Depends on the type of cichlid. You'd want to make sure they're dead. I've heard horror stories. I've never seen it in person of like a live mealworm burrowing back out of the fish. But they're kind of tough, so it's got to be a bigger fish. But I think it'd do okay. How to feed earthworms to smaller fish? Usually you chop them up a ton. For some reason I don't enjoy that process, so I don't do it. But really what you do is you grab your earthworm and you kind of like wring it out so you get all of the feces and dirt out of it, and then you chop it up. And for some reason, I can do a lot of things, but that doesn't make me feel good, and so I just don't do that one. So, slight note on that. If you're buying earthworms from like, let's say a store or a bait shop, make sure they haven't been enhanced with anything. At least a few years ago, there was ones that almost like glow in the dark and were enhanced with bait to try and get fish to eat it. You want to make sure none of those things are in addition to just a standard basic worm you're using. All right. Let's see here. Welcome everyone that's here. I see a lot of people, joining in. I'm way behind. I apologize for that. What's a good food for neon tetra for a live food? Honestly, it's expensive to buy in bulk, which is brine shrimp eggs. But brine shrimp eggs kind of make the world go round. They're so good, honestly. If you ever want to just really get colors to pop, add that into your routine. I know a breeder that breeds a lot of rare stuff. She actually breeds a lot of stuff before other people have done it, and all she does, she kind of rotates, or at least feeds a couple times a day, live baby brine and tetra flake. And it's because the live baby brine is a staple. The tetra flake is just to get some extra vitamins in. and the fish accept it. So I think it's a winning combo, and she's used it to breed some of the rarest fish in the world, and she's done it first. And so I think that's a winning recipe she's found for the way she keeps fish. And I think that's an important part too, is, you know, feed and do things what makes sense for you. Just like I know I don't enjoy sifting flower beetles, so I don't do it. How many people have we got in the chat tonight? Let's see here. 596 was the peak so far. Not up there yet, but we're still early. Maybe no one likes live fish foods. That could be. Let's see. What is a good... Oh, we got that one. Good food for the neon tetra. I'm going to scroll down a bit more. How to start a free live food culture that is reliable and you don't have to sterilize. Oh, and do you have to feed live... or sterilize live food before feeding? So, in a perfect world, everything would be sterile. The reality is, even like frozen bloodworms are only like 99.2% sterile. So even there's always going to be some risk. And I like to say, like, here's my risk and here's my reward. And as long as my reward is really high and my risk is pretty low, I think it's a pretty good trade. If it's like 50-50, like my fish is going to breed or my fish is going to die, I don't know if I'm willing to take that risk. But when it comes to free live food cultures, I think the easiest free one is mosquito larvae. You can just kind of leave anything of water out there, like a 5-gallon bucket, and when the season's on, they're going to make mosquitoes, and all you got to do is check on it every day. And you go, oh look, mosquito larvae. Net it out, feed it to your fish. You come back tomorrow, what do you know? They laid more. And as long as you stay on top of it, it's really good. If you don't stay on top of it, you're just making a mosquito factory and your neighbors are going to hate you. Trying to think of other good free ones. You can get a lot of starter cultures from other hobbyists free, like microworms and things like that from local clubs, but you can't really just like, I'm going to have that today. I would say possibly earthworms. I would say most people probably have earthworms. And I'm trying to think of other things that are reasonable. Like, you know, no one's going to go out and like, I'm going to go hunt for this, you know. Some places have Daphnia and things like that, but I don't. Or at least I haven't found a good place to get it, so. Zach's Tanks Crazy Aquarium Guy says, love that you're a teacher at heart. This is a super chat, by the way. Your channel is going to be super big. I asked you another time, but you can please check out my channel again and tell me what I can do better. I will make an attempt, Zach. In fact, hold on, if you can do me a favor, Zach, send me an email, store@aquariumcoop.com. That way I'll have your email, and I can give you some actual advice. Because, you know, some of that stuff I want to give it directly to you and not necessarily to the whole public, like as a comment on your channel. So if you send me an email at store@aquariumcoop.com and a link to your channel, I'll actually put that time in, and I'll give you actual feedback. Be fully warned, I give honest feedback. I've helped some other channels turn them for the better and stuff like that. And I preface everything with, I'm just a crazy guy, and maybe I don't know anything, but if it was me, here's what I would do. And yeah, so I'll do what I can. I'm not going to spend like 8 hours on it, but I definitely will get to it. Because what happens is when I'm done here, I go into my email, and then I answer all the stuff I missed, and try to get to it as soon as I can. So that reminds me, we've got the food sale going on the website. It's 20% off all of our Aquarium Co-op branded foods. And I would ask you guys, if you're thinking about buying anything, buy it soon. And here's why. My employees are getting very close to meeting their sales goal for the month. They missed it, you know, the past couple of months. If they can get the sales goal, they all get a 25-cent raise. Every single person on staff gets a raise, and so I'd love to see them get that. And they're pretty close. They just need, you know, they've got a few days left, and I want to make sure they get it so they can all, you know, get that little bump. Because they've been working hard, don't get me wrong. They missed it by just a little bit last month, and, you know, so if you're thinking about buying anything, do it tonight. Give them that bump. We'll get it shipped out tomorrow, most likely, unless you guys all order, in which case that's a landslide, which would be good, but we will get it sent out relatively quick. Let's see. In the second hour, I'll answer questions like this one. Are Danios good with shrimp? For now, I'm trying to stay on point with the live food cultures. Have you ever thought about buying sea monkeys from places like Cracker Barrel or the dollar store? They're just brine shrimp, and I thought maybe I could just buy those and feed them my guppies. You could do that, and I think in general, unless you find them on super duper sale, it's going to be more expensive than just buying straight up, sea monkeys by the pound brine shrimp. The Fish Nerd says, I actually like the smell of oatmeal microworm cultures. Whew. You probably like the smell of like sourdough bread. I don't like that. I don't like sour smells, so yeah. Get a little bit of that on the taco. Woo! Something good there. Oof, just found the gnarliest spider in your room and had to get rid of it. I'm surprised you're still here, the nerdy fish. I would have had to set my room on fire. Because where there's one spider, there's more. You can't sleep. It's coming for you. It's going to avenge its brother's death. Oh, that brings up a good one. John says, I breed tarantulas and feed the slings. Is that what a baby tarantula is called? A sling? Is that true? Someone will tell me that. But anyway, flightless fruit flies and feed them to my guppies too. I can also control the fruit flies' diet to suit what I like my guppies to have. Yeah. For me, I used to carry fruit fly cultures wingless. Well, they had wingless, and then they had ones that just couldn't fly, like their wings were deformed. So I had two of them, and they're okay for fish, like especially killifish and hatchetfish and stuff like that. Really love them. But for me, because I ran planet tanks, they would always like get up on the water lettuce and walk up outside the tank and then walk onto the wall. You'd have to keep like pushing them back in. And of the options I had available, there was other things I just thought was easier. But yes, fly culture, especially if you're already doing dart frogs and stuff like that, make a lot of sense. Another good live food, honestly. Let's see, this will tie into live food. My Grammies had babies, and they're very small. Any tips on what to feed them? I was trying to use First Bites by Hikari and egg yolk. Anyone can help you out as well. Well, hopefully someone else is helping you out, but vinegar eels would be a good one. And then maybe banana worms. I've never played around with banana worms much, but supposedly they're like half the size of a microworm, and a microworm is already pretty small. So I would try those two. Live brine shrimp is the easiest, but depending on the gourami, some of those brine shrimp are already too big for them. So, and you might need green water and infusoria as well, which those are two other cultures, which technically you could get for free. You could just kind of take like a 5-gallon bucket of aquarium water, set it outside in the sun. It'll eventually probably turn green. Then you've got green water to feed. And kind of the same thing can go on. You put it in the windowsill or something like that, and you can get infusoria going. The best thing that I've had experience with, and I haven't played with it too much, but I've kind of kept them going for some breeders and stuff while they're out of town. Like a 1-inch section of banana peel for like a jar of water this big worked out really good for the infusoria cultures. So yeah, that's what I know on that. Rurutu says, I bet Corey's researched a DIY worm chopping machine. The way to do it, honestly, is you put it through the impeller of a power head and stuff like that. It just sucks it up and spits it out. But you got to get it into... It gets down to conveyor belt systems. That's the best way to do it. And then you have like the cutter come down every interval, right? The problem is conveyor belt systems are stupid expensive. So I haven't dabbled in it yet, but I've looked into it, but I haven't done it. Stingray Crazy says, finally caught you live. Well, good. Glad you're here. Let's see. Technically, fruits and vegetables are alive, so best fruits and veggies to feed. That's a technical true statement. Clown loaches, I like zucchini a lot better than I like cucumber. Cucumber is mostly water and gets real soggy real fast. I like zucchini better. I like green beans out of the can quite a bit, which I don't think those are still alive at that point, but, close enough. But yeah, I mean, I think I've seen people feed like watermelon and orange and stuff like that to koi and goldfish, get them some vitamin C, and there's a lot of water in it for those fish, and it keeps them regular, which is good. Let's see here. Can tubifex live in a puffer tank and breed in the substrate? If not, how to breed them and make them alive for the longest? I get told to put them in the fridge. So David, by putting them in the fridge, you're slowing down their metabolism as much as possible, and that will slow down how much they go to the bathroom and how much they need to breathe. And that is one of the best ways. That being said, they're living off their body weight, and long term, they're going to lose a lot of their nutrition, like over the course of a month or more. They can live and breed in your substrate, but if they're being hunted faster than they're breeding, you're just going to run out. Like what a lot of people do for our store, they'll buy a portion and they'll throw it into their tank and just let them live as they get hunted. So that's an option. And then the last thing I bring up is most times, if you're in the U.S., stores will call them a tubifex worm, but it's actually a black worm, because tubifex worms, you really don't want to be working with those. They carry TB and all kinds of actual diseases because they come out of sewers. It used to be in the 60s and 70s you could get a lot of tubifex worms, but now no one, like no store wants to be touching them. Like literally you can get hepatitis and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, maybe you are legitimately getting them, but if you are, I would try to switch to something else. It doesn't so bad. Let's see. Did I actually catch up to the bottom? Maybe I did. What about frozen shrimp from the grocery store? It's not a live food. You can. That long term, I think it also has the thionazine in it, so you don't want to solely feed that. But the thing I will speak about that shrimp is I myself haven't noticed a difference in the health and nutrition of my animals, whether it was cooked or not cooked. And I find cooked a lot easier, and I would wager a little bit that the ones that are uncooked with the shell on, which most people recommend, they actually leave a lot of debris in the water, and I think that fouls the water quite a bit. And so I personally like the cooked cocktail shrimp. I find them very good because they can soak up like something like Vitachem. We sell that on the website. It's basically a vitamin soak for foods. You can do that with brine shrimp and freeze-dried foods and stuff like that. But it's one of my favorite ways to get stingrays and puffers and stuff like that. Their first meals is get that cocktail shrimp, soak it in Vitachem with a lot of nutrients and vitamins in it, get them to eat that, and now they've got something their body can really start using. And so yeah, that's from the Inquisitive Fish Guy. If you guys don't know, he's got a YouTube channel. Go check him out. Mostly, at least to the best of my knowledge, mostly African cichlids, a lot of haps and stuff like that. But he's been going for quite a while, so check him out. Can I feed pond snails to an Amazon puffer? If so, can you give me tips on breeding pond snails? So first, you can. And two, so my favorite way to mass produce snails, because I've got a lot of puffers, we bring in a lot of puffers, we sell a lot of snails as puffer food. Get a tank, put in like an inch or two of crushed coral, and then we feed the plankton banquet blocks. We sell them on our website. Some other places sell them. But basically, they're calcium with spirulina in it and a little bit of fish food. I feed those. Like if I don't see one in the tank, I put one in there. And then also we have an auto feeder going all the time that dumps food in all the time. Well, not all the time, but at least once a day. So most people don't raise snails for two reasons. Either one, they don't feed enough, and they can't keep that many snails fed to live. Or B, they feed way too much, and then they're always having ammonia problems and stuff like that. So you need to get the best of both worlds going. And I find it really easy to balance a tank around, like, okay, I put one of these blocks in a week. Okay, the auto feeder does this, and I harvest this many snails and get that going. Alrighty, let's see. 653 is the max. We just got to get 47 more. Set a record of 700. That would be a banging live stream, let me tell you what. What types of foods do fish come across naturally in the wild? Okay, that's a great question, Chaz. So this is all based on my research and not any like me in the field, right? So, but lots of copepods. So things like cyclops, scuds, I know there's like a bunch, seed shrimps, maybe fairy shrimps, those types of things, Daphnia, so those types of things. But then I think what most people don't realize, in the wild, fish eat a lot of other baby fish. You know, when that fry comes out and it's microscopic, and this guppy or this tetra comes by, yomp, there's a good, there's a good meal. And they also eat other dead fish, and in general, rotten fruit that's fallen in, anything like that. Anything that, imagine your dog and we didn't feed it. You're going, it's digging in the garbage. Well, of course it is. There's food in there, just like a fish would do. Like, oh, it's digging and eating gross stuff. And that's what they do. When you're forced to be an opportunistic feeder, you will use the opportunity of anything you see as maybe food to eat it. And so they actually eat a lot of stuff, and even bacteria, algae, all that kind of stuff. That's why you see a lot of wild-caught fish pictures. They always look extra skinny, because it's really kind of hard for them to find a lot of food. So Tyler Duncan with the super chat, $5. Thanks, buddy. Corey, what's the average price for roseline sharks? Prices vary from $6 to $30 each. I special ordered some from a local fish store, but he won't give me a price until they deliver. So first, Tyler, in my opinion, you shouldn't have to commit to anything if you don't know the price. So I hope that, if they show up and they're $30 each, you can just be like, no, thank you. Because that just seems underhanded to me, personally. But if he's willing to bring them in and then go, hey, I've got them at this price, are you interested? That's a different story. He's taking all the risk and he's putting all the money. But, yeah, so I think the cheapest ones in my store at the moment are $8, and then my most expensive are $15. Me, personally, I feel like $15 is kind of a going rate, unless they were like a grolt. I was going to say adult wild-caught rose lines where they're like 5-6 inches. Maybe $30 is justified then. But I get this question asked to me all the time, and a lot of times I just ignore it because I'm tired of typing it out and then people not getting it. So I'm going to go into it right now, even though we're in the live food portion. But people all the time ask me, is this fish worth this much money? I just spent $20 on it, $10 on it, whatever it is. You shouldn't be worried about if someone else thinks it's worried about it. All you should care about is whether you think it's worth it. So, for instance, if someone told me tomorrow I could never have another dog in my life unless I spent $5,000, I would spend $5,000 on a dog, because the amount of pure enjoyment I get out of my dogs, where I sleep with them, and they lick my face, and they greet me when I get home, it's pure bliss. And $5,000, while a big expense, I would save up and make sure I had a dog in my life, because every day is better when I have a dog. And so you should feel the same way about your fish. You should look at it and go, is this fish $20 cool to me? Whereas, a lot of people look at my guppies and they go, that's not even $1 cool. And to me, they're $30 or $50 cool each, because I will stand there and look at them. And really, a better way to look at your fish or something like that might be, how much time do you spend with them? So if you spend $20 on a fish and you spend the next, 20 hours this month looking at it, you just bought entertainment for this month at $1 an hour. You can't buy that kind of entertainment anywhere. It's the best deal ever. Likewise, spend $2,000, but you watch it 20 hours a week for the next 10 years, still the best investment ever. But if you spend $20 and you don't look at it at all, it was a terrible investment. So really, you should find, so the average price I would say on roseline sharks, somewhere, I would say $10 to $15 in that range is pretty average. But in Australia, for instance, people are saying they're really expensive. The real, thing you should worry about, if they're worth $30 each to you, you should totally get them, because you want them and they'll make your life better for it. That's the whole reason. And that's what most people keep fish for, is they go, oh, I get to de-stress, I get to watch my tank, I enjoy them. And if you get $30 of enjoyment out of each one, you, sir, are making money, because you could spend your money on food, go out to dinner and enjoy it for an hour, and then you're done. That's a worse investment than a roseline shark, in my opinion. So, Scott Collier says, can seed shrimp be used as a live food source? If so, how can you cultivate them? So I know very little. A person to ask might be Jeanne at Inglorious Bettas, because she just got some in this vial, actually. This vial had them in it, but then I brought scuds home from San Francisco in it. But the person that's cultivating them, he was cultivating them in the pots outside in his yard. So basically, they collect some water from rain, and in there they show up, and he harvests them, he pours it off, and that's how he replicates them. And I'm not 100% sure how it goes, but I think there needs to be a dry season in there and stuff like that, because usually, if there's not a reason why we're not harvesting them all the time, they would be in the hobby for us to buy all the time. So there's got to be something like that going on where it's not the easiest to harvest. But I heard on some very small fish, their carapace and stuff can be a little bit hard for them to eat. But otherwise, I think it'll work just fine, like for like killifish and stuff like that. All right. Let's see. Corey, I'm having a hard time feeding my semi-new zebra pleco. Help! It's too expensive to die. Well, price doesn't matter, by the way. So, you know, whether it's a $50 pleco, a $5 pleco, or a $250 pleco, or a $5,000 pleco, at the end of the day, they're a pleco. And so we know that zebras are a meat-eating pleco. In the wild, they'd be eating things like dead fish, that kind of stuff, finding their protein somewhere. First, I would say, do you have it warm enough? Typically, zebra plecos like to be in that 84, 85 degree range. So that's important. Keep its metabolism going. And then make sure you offer it food in a way it can eat it. So if you have, for instance, a group of swordtails and a zebra pleco, and you put in a ton of bloodworms, and you put in the bloodworms, and they get eaten by the swordtails, he's not getting a chance to eat. Also, they tend to be reclusive and nocturnal. So I find Rapashi does pretty well. Massivore, it's got a lot of krill content in it, so it attracts them, but it can make your water stink. But basically, a pellet that holds up for a decent amount of time and not too much competition is the best way to get zebra plecos to eat. That being said, there are people that have kept zebra plecos for years and they've never seen them eat. They always eat after the lights are out and food's back in their caves and that type of thing. In general, I think what you can do is you can do the most you can and hope for the best. So you're offering them a variety of foods, you're keeping good water parameters, you're keeping it hot enough, that type of thing. And yeah. So Neon Tetra says, Corey, I'm not much of a fan of this whole slow mode thing since it is time for 1 minute. Well, all I can say is if you don't like it, don't participate. The problem is with 676 people chatting, it can move so fast that I would have never even seen that. So, you know, it's one of those things that we're just going to all have to deal with it. And eventually, if there's 1,000 people or 2,000 people watching, it might have to be once every 2 minutes. It's put in there for a reason, and that's... Have you guys, have you ever been to a stream where there's 2,000 people watching? The screen will move so fast, you literally can't even see that there's words. Like, that's just not beneficial for anyone. So, unfortunately, yeah, you have to choose the comment you want to, put in and wait 60 seconds. But the alternative is you would never get anything seen. So it's the better of two evils, I guess. Let's see here. I'd like to know how many fish is too many for a 10-gallon tank. I'm thinking very small fish, glowfish, about 2 inches, and at least 2 or 3 ghost shrimp. So it totally depends on how you set that tank up. If you've got live plants, if you're feeding live or frozen foods. In general, ghost shrimp, are kind of a brackish water shrimp. At least very hard water is where they're going to, tolerate. Glowfish, you're going to want them at least a group of 6, no matter what type of glowfish you pick. And, I would say take it slow with minimal groups and proceed as you test water and find that the way you're doing it, your water change schedule, maybe your live plants, that type of thing, is keeping up with the tank really well. Then add some more. Let that go for a month and then see how that's going. Let's see. Can I recommend a snail for a 1-gallon betta tank? I would use a Malaysian trumpet snail, so hopefully during the day it hangs out underneath the gravel or sand, because in a 1-gallon, it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. If that bed is aggressive, it's just always there. So the Boever says, what about Rapashi for zebra plecos? Grub pie or meat pie? So I would not recommend meat pie. In fact, it's so not recommended, Rapashi discontinued it this year. They're not making any more of it. And me personally, I never had a single fish eat it, ever. So there's that. But grub pie, I would say if I was going to pick one specifically for the zebra pleco, I would do the bottom scratcher myself, because it's a little more rubbery, which makes it easier for them to eat and not have other fish eat it. So that's a good comment. Brian's opinion says fish eggs. That's another thing that stuff eats in the wild. Lots of fish eggs and fry. Yeah, for sure. And so that'll lead me into my next live fish thing, or live food thing. One of the best live foods you can have is live bears in the tank. So for instance, imagine in this 75-gallon tank, I had a group of red swordtails, right? My goal would not be to make more red swordtails. I want all of their babies to be consumed by another fish. So maybe I put in like a Tanganyikan cichlid, maybe I put in a catfish or something like that. That basically they're going to consume all the babies, get all that super duper good food, and then those breed, and either I can remove the eggs or they're going to be hidden away enough that they can do that. That's been a long time trick of a lot of breeders for many, many years, is to keep a live bearing species in with a fish, knowing that they wouldn't make more of those, but they would really improve the diets of some of those predatory catfish, cichlids, those types of things. So I haven't done that too often. I used to do it all the time back in the day, but it's a really good way to supplement the diet, and you just got to get the right kind of live bearer. So like a big swordtail, a big platy, and then nothing too aggressive that's going to like beat on it. You don't want it to like get killed, obviously. But like guppies, for instance, if I put in like Julidochromis back there, I'd be afraid that the guppies would actually just get taken out. So 9 more minutes, and then you can ask me a question about growing a YouTube channel, Collins. What's my favorite food for discus? One of my favorite videos on watching discus eat is, I think the farm is called Halbrook's Farm, and they mass raise Daphnia, which I've put in a lot of hours, and you guys maybe have seen one of my most watched videos of me producing like pounds of Daphnia at a time. But they have a nice system, and they feed all their discus insane amounts of Daphnia that they raise in a greenhouse, so that's pretty cool. But my personal favorite food is the Sarah discus granules. That being said, I prefer frozen bloodworms. So, past live blackworms, past frozen to dry food. That's what that would be. What do I recommend for goldfish constipation? Switch to a diet that has a lot of roughage in it. So, here's a live food. Duckweed. Duckweed's one of the best things you can feed for them. While it's sitting there waiting to be eaten, it's converting waste into more duckweed. That's great. Also, it's like eating a lot of salad. It helps kind of clean them out. That's good. And then also add things with a lot of shells. So like brine shrimp. Why does my brain not work? Spirulina brine shrimp. There's other stuff. Like I feed to my koi and stuff, I feed gramaris. All those shells are kind of fiber and roughage, so that can help. Obviously, you can do things like peas with the skin taken off. But any vegetable matter or easily passable things helps get that constipation going. And if they're starting to really blow it up, sometimes some erythromycin can basically help kill off some of that bacteria inside and alleviate some of that pressure and get them to go. Awesome says, recently bought Daphnia eggs. How do I set them up to hatch, grow, and breed? So I've never done it from eggs. Well, that's not entirely true. Like every year, all my Daphnia dies off outside, goes to egg form, overwinters, then comes back. But in general, I would say the best thing you could do would be get like a basin outside. So like maybe it's 30 gallons or something outside. Grab a couple of handfuls of grass after you mow the lawn, throw it in there, let that start to break down. When that water turns milky white or green, either one, drop those eggs in there and you'll make a bunch of Daphnia. Now, the problem with Daphnia is, and I gotta remember, I think it's every 10 days, 10 or 14 days, I think it's every 7 days, because I think it takes 14 days for them to hit the biggest size they can hit, but they can start reproducing themselves at 7 days. So they're not, all the way as big as they can get, but they can start reproducing there. The problem for them is every 7 days, you have twice as many Daphnia as you did before. And so you kind of go from like, okay, I just saw them hatch. 7 days later, you're going to have basically twice as much Daphnia. And then 7 days after that, you have twice as much. And 7 days after that, you have twice as much. You might have already crashed because there's not enough food. And every time, so like every 2 or 3 days, they're molting their exoskeleton basically. They're going to get a little bit bigger. And that adds up to a lot of debris down in there. And you can also run out of oxygen. So a slow-moving air stone or just a air line in there, and then a little bit of floating plants can go a long way. That's definitely something I'm working on. In fact, in the next fish room tour you see, I talk about it a bit, how I'm going to move some totes outside and really start playing with it. In fact, in one of my tanks right now, I've got some Daphnia, and I've got Daphnia outside. It's warmed up enough, so it's Daphnia time, and I showed that on camera. And so yeah, there's other things too, like managing calcium levels and hardness, and Daphnia are really susceptible to potassium and chlorine. You really need to have aged water, so that's kind of why having outside, they can get water changes from rain and those types of things. But mostly it's letting nature do it. Supply the eggs and then let nature feed them and stuff like that. All right. Let's see. How do I control the population of duckweed in a 40 breeder goldfish tank? I don't have the space for a second tank to grow it, but I don't want them to eat all of it before I get a chance to grow. So here's my tip. And know that it might not look the best, but I would either A, use a breeder box and put it in there, or B, build your own, like, breeder box out of mesh netting. Well, not netting, but like the needlepoint stuff. Like you could make it like this shallow and like this long, like the whole back of your tank almost, and like this wide, and you can make it out of black, and then you just grow it back there, and then each day or something, maybe you just like pull your glass top forward a little bit, grab a little handful, push it back, and feed them. And that's the same way I do it with turtles also, by the way. You keep them from ever getting to it, but you get all the benefits of the Daphnia actually, or not Daphnia, the duckweed actually consuming the nitrogen and all the waste, and you're making the food again. So that's, really just need a physical barrier is what you need, and that's the way I would do it. Let's see. Would cherry shrimp eat the exoskeletons of Daphnia? Possibly, Chaz. I don't know. I haven't tested that enough. I know in my Daphnia systems I've had, like a bloodworm going in there that naturally occurs. The biggest problem I run into is somehow cyclops finding their way in and out-competing my Daphnia cultures outside, after a few months or something like that. Snails might help break it down as well. I know that... So my next thinking is this. I've always ran them bare bottom. I'm thinking I want to run one that's like 300 gallons, but then put in like 6 or 8 inches of substrate, so that those shells will fall down and eventually get down and break down and actually try and recreate nature, because that's what nature does. So I think if I take it another step towards nature, I'm that much closer to actually pulling it off year round. So that's the hope anyway. That's my hope. Let's see here. Just feed your fish convict cichlids. That's a pretty easy one to raise up. Convicts are pretty crafty, though. Sometimes they get away and you get a new tank mate. So, the way Corey talks makes my burrito taste so much better. Well, at least you recognize it's a burrito and not a soft taco. So you're already winning with me, Priscilla. Got a super chat from Shelly G. A tidbit for all that you give. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Pine Tree Loom says, when water conditioner expires, is it bad to use? In my personal experience, I've never had a problem using expired water conditioner. I think, and this is without me doing a ton of research, I think you have to put like an expiration on every chemical. And so at some point you have to be like, yep, this thing's going to expire, even though it might not. I've never run into a problem. That being said, I wouldn't use it probably on, I just brought 10 zebra plecos. Let me try it here. Like, try it on some other stuff. But in general, I've never had a problem. So, take it with okay, well, he didn't have a problem. Maybe I'll test it on the tank that is growing out duckweed and feeder goldfish or something. All right. So we are in the second hour now. I will answer other questions as well. But hopefully, try and tie them back into food. That's always a good thing. Are there any forms of live food that cherry shrimp will eat? So I've witnessed cherry shrimp eating live blackworms. Trying Trying to think of anything else. I don't think I've seen anything else. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying I don't think I've seen it. But I have seen them do black worms, and especially a monoshrimp. Monoshrimp are crafty. All right. Let's see. Flynn accidentally banned the wrong person. Can I unban them? Oh, wait. Flynn already did. Good job, Flynn. You should do a tank with guppies, cherry barbs, glow lights, coolie loaches, killifish, crayfish. That's too many fish. And be all natural. So it could be done, but it'd probably have to be like 2,200 gallons. And not all those fish go together in the same biotope. But you could pull something like that off in a very large system. 675 watching. Is that a true statement? Our peak in this live stream is 689. So there's 675 people here. At least 25 of you have to have someone else in the room, like a wife, a husband, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a grandma, a kid, and they've got a phone. Everyone's got a phone this day and age. Clearly, you could be like, you know, I need you to watch this nerd for about 5 minutes to help set a record, and we could make that happen if we wanted to. How do I make my fry grow faster? Nerf Mania. Go search up my video that says how to make fry grow faster. So there's a whole video on it. But really what it comes down to is an auto feeder in addition to you feeding frozen foods. Feed them 4 to 6 times a day. Water change enough to be appropriate. And they'll grow. You'll reach maximum growing. Now, some species, that's still really slow. But you'll at least be at the fastest you can be. When do you get an update on my clown loach herd? Maybe this week. I've got the video to Jimmy, so Jimmy can edit it. I filmed it yesterday, and so maybe this week, maybe next week. We'll try to get it out as soon as we can. Please answer my super important question. How can I raise alkalinity? So Matthew, one of the easiest ways is crushed coral. Another easy way, but not stable way, is baking soda, but that really elevates pH. My favorite way is crushed coral, but I don't know what your pH is starting at. And then if you already have, like, let's say you had 100 parts per million alkalinity in your water, your tap water, and your tank only had 20, the best thing would be to change water. That would be the best way to raise it. What can I cultivate outside without my dad killing you? Avi, I think the best thing would be worms. So, well, first, it helps if I know what fish, because I could be telling you to cultivate something your fish can't eat because it's too big. But maybe red wiggler worms. So they only get about that big. You could do it like in a compost type of setup. If you have a compost pile, you could do it in a 5-gallon bucket. Because that... You know, because you gotta look at it from an outsider standpoint. You're already gonna sound insane that you want to make worms to feed your fish. But if you come at them with, I want to make mosquitoes, now they really think you're insane. But if you could do worms, and you actually do it, and they see you doing it, and the fish love it, then you can probably convince them, like, well, let me do mosquitoes. You see me, I go harvest worms every day. Now let me go harvest mosquito larvae also. So, yeah, red wiggler composting worms. Yeah, Danks tanks. That's a good one. Yep. Let's see here. Did everyone like and share this yet? I don't know. How many likes have we gotten? I can't see that number. 355. All right. Let's see. Barbara Fontana says, hi, how are you? Just joined the stream. Doing well. Thanks for joining. Would you buy glow guppies if they made them? Ooh, that's a good question. The answer is maybe. So, I have this firm belief that I will pretty much buy anything I think looks cool, so long as I don't genuinely believe that it was horrible to the animal. So, a glow guppy, in theory, shouldn't have been horrible to that animal. But if it was like a painted guppy where they injected dye, I would not buy that. But a glow guppy, if it looked really cool, I would do it. Because first and foremost, I'm a hobbyist. Then after that, I care about the environment. And I know that sounds insane to people. But the reality is, it's easier to give in to your desires. And then likely it's going to teach me stuff. Like, I wouldn't know nearly as much as I do right now about nature if it wasn't for these fish. And I fell in love with the fish, and that's why I don't sell glowfish in my store, but it's not because they're glowfish, it's because they're weak. Those zebra danios and stuff like that they originally did are weak, and then like the skirt tetras and the tiger barbs, I don't sell skirt tetras or tiger barbs in my store anyways, and so it's easier just to lump those in. But the minute there's like pink angelfish like they have in Japan, it's kind of hard not to, because I already sell angelfish, and if people really want them, it's almost my duty to provide them, because if I don't provide them, they'll just go buy them at PetSmart or something like that, and if they're getting illness there, it's actually worse for all of their fish. But yeah, I think if they had a really cool glow guppy, I'd probably buy them. I don't think they would ever do it, because I don't think they'll do live bears, because they'll breed and they're trying to keep a cornered market. So, but I think I would do it. So here's a good question from William. Is live food overall better than flake or pellet, or is it good to feed a balance? I think it's good to have a variety and a balance. What I do like about live food is there's no fillers. So like, you eat a brine shrimp, boom, it's a brine shrimp. If you make a brine shrimp pellet, yeah, there's going to be some fillers and stuff in there as well, but you also get fillers in the form of extra vitamins and stuff like that. And I like to put it like this. If you ate steak every day of your life, you might die to like scurvy because you never got vitamin C. So we do need other things outside of it, but we can focus a majority of our diets on good stuff and then make sure we fill in. So it's probably like a 70-30 thing, like 70% whole foods, 30% non-whole foods, and it leads to a pretty good diet. I would say there's probably a wide variance of like even 30% whole foods, 70% other stuff. I just think so long as we avoid those crazy extremes, we're probably doing okay. Best plant for very hard water. I've grown a lot of plants in hard water, but probably Anubiases, Java ferns, water sprites done well. You could do bamboo. You could probably do pothos. Maybe avoid some crypts or something like that. Ted asks, are there any insects you should not feed to fish? I'm sure that answer is yes. The reality is I can't think of any off the top of my head, so I bet you there's like a long list of them. I just don't know them. Like probably like, for instance, maybe bees and wasps would be bad to feed your Oscar. I have no idea. It might be fine. Like I don't know. But yeah. Kyle's Fish Room, $5 super chat. Thank you, buddy. How to use a dehumidifier to raise fish room temp in a basement a couple degrees and keep it stable. Run all the time, humidity, or on a timer. So, I've always done it all the time, personally, because I want minimum amount of humidity ever. I've met lots of wholesalers that have to move. They get kicked out of their space because they let humidity get too high. I've met a lot of people that had a lot of mold problems and stuff like that. I live in such fear of the mold that I want humidity as low as it can go all the time in my fish room. So I don't run it on a timer. The humidity thing can work, but I find the humidistats on the dehumidifiers to not be that reliable. That's part of the problem. So I run them all the time, just continuous. And then I would just vent if I need to. So for instance, like what my schedule happens in my fish room, like I've got dehumidifiers running right now, and it's pretty warm right now. But it's not warm enough that I can open up any windows or anything, so I just got to kind of live with it being a little bit warmer. And then what's going to happen. It's going to get warm enough where I can start leaving the window cracked open a little bit, but then I could start turning off one of the dehumidifiers. I run two. And so because that new air coming in is going to create some air exchange also. And in the middle of summer, I run no dehumidifiers, but I run fans in the windows to exchange the heat and the humidity. So I think it's a moving target. And I think, it's not so bad because I basically change it maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Not that much, so it's not unbearable. But if I had to change it every other week or something like that, I'd develop a better system. But I think that's how you manage it. And, the better insulated your room is, the less temp flux you're going to have, and the easier it becomes. Nick's Aquatic says, Eco Complete or Fluorite? If I'm choosing between the two, I personally would choose Eco Complete. Gary says, I've got a 125 Planet Tank and can never get the water perfectly clear. I've done multiple water changes. My substrate is Miracle Grow topped with Eco Complete. I'm not sure what's causing the cloudiness. If it's like a white haze, it's a bacterial bloom. If it's a green haze, it's an algae bloom. If it's a brown tint, it's the organics in the Miracle Grow, and that'll just take, it really will never go away. I'm never really chasing perfectly crystal clear water because to get that, usually you have to give up so many benefits to get there that it's not worth it. So, you know, I mean, you could definitely start using lots of Purage, lots of micron filter cartridges you could use, all kinds of stuff like that. But at a certain point, is it worth all that effort to get just a little bit more clear? So, let's see. What do we got next? When feeding frozen bloodworms or brine shrimp, do I thaw it first or just toss it in? I personally just toss it in. I've never had any problems, so I don't worry about it. Every once in a while I have a fish that'll eat all of it, and so I will thaw it first, but it's not from a fear of it being frozen or not. It's mostly from that guy just ate 4 cubes of bloodworms before anyone else got to it. Let's see, what else? We did it! We beat the record! 728. Yeah! Get the dab going. It's kind of an inside joke. I dabbed once, and now like my entire family and every friend I know makes fun of me for it. It was a Super Bowl one where I broke that record the first time. But anyway, let's get back to serious stuff. Having fun today. Matthew says, Corey, can you use an ant farm for live food? So, I don't know. And the reason I say I don't know is because I don't know what ants would be the right ants to do it. So I suspect that there are fish that will eat ants. Then I also suspect there are ants that could bite fish and do things or maybe carry toxins. So the answer is I bet you, and it'd be a really fun, cool project, especially if you had it some way where it was like, you know, you had the ant farm, you're like, oh yeah, if you go down this one tube, you fall in, and then my gourami eats you or something. That might be really fun. But I would definitely set up, set some time aside, really research it and play with it, and make sure that's something you want to do and get the right fish combination and stuff like that. Like, what if you had like a tube, and then you had like an archerfish that could shoot it down or something? That might be super cool. But at the same time, maybe it didn't work at all. I don't know. I haven't played with that one. What fish do really well with fast-growing floating plants like duckweed? Would shrimp do okay? Yeah, that would do okay. I mean, are you asking if they're going to eat it or just cohabitate? But lots of community fish do well with duckweed. Let's see here. If I added a colony of pond snails to a pea puffer aquarium, would I have to be concerned if it was lidless? No, you shouldn't. They shouldn't really want to get out. But a lot of times what you can run into is the pea puffers, once they're full, they'll continue to eat the snails. Or not eat them, but kill them. They just kill them because that's what they do. So they don't even eat them. So it's really hard to keep a population going unless you've got a really oversized aquarium to pull that off. Like one pea puffer, 200-gallon aquarium, you could probably make that work. But yeah. Do I have a problem with the turtles in the tote biting at the pump cord? I've never had that problem with any of my turtles so far, Kevin. It is a concern, but I've never had the problem yet, so it's kind of one of those things like I'm just lucky at this point. But yeah, I should devise a better system, but yeah, it just hasn't been a problem yet. So, but if I reset up that, I'm going to take it into a better consideration and hide it better. Because all I've got in there is that power head pump is what I've got. One power head, that's the only cord that goes in. Is there anything that can be fed to baby mystery snails? My favorite things, James, are canned green beans. Works awesome. Best LEDs for a 24-inch deep tank. My opinion at the moment would be the Fluval 2.0 with that 3-year warranty, and it does pretty darn well. There might be some stuff off eBay and stuff like that. I just don't know them enough to know that, are you really getting your bang for your buck? Because I haven't tested them all. But the Fluval 2.0 is my current favorite. If I was setting up a 24-inch deep tank, I would use a Fluval 2.0. I answered that one already, so I'm going to scroll down some more. Just sub to Flynn? Yeah, if you haven't subbed to Flynn, you need to sub him now. Here's the reason why you want to sub to Flynn. Flynn is young, but is a genius and the nicest Canadian on the planet, which I already know you're going, yeah, but Canadians are already really nice. Yeah, he's the nicest one. And so that is a recipe for success. You get to say, I've been following Flynn since he was at 700 subscribers, and give it like a couple of years. He's going to be like, oh God, what is his name? Like, I'm forgetting right now, but he's the coral kid who grew up from like 14 to 18. He's killing it now in the saltwater world. And Flynn puts out good content. He put out a video that was really good about using levamisol to treat Camellinus redworm and stuff like that. And so, you know, in general, I will do anything to support that kid because he is awesome. He really is. And if you talk to a lot of the other YouTubers, we all feel the same way. That kid, he's going to put us all to shame. You just got to... The problem is kids have a stigma of kids are annoying. Flynn is not annoying, but he gets brushed by because they're going, oh, another kid YouTuber channel next. But he's amazing, honestly. He doesn't spam you with content. He edits really well. He puts a lot of time into it. His parents drive him far away to shoot the videos and do all kinds of cool stuff. I can't say enough good things, but, you know, if you haven't already, go subscribe to Flynn. He's amazing. And, yeah. I mean, obviously, I can shout out LR Brett's Aquatics, Steenfod Aquatics. I've got, you know, I've got people's shirts and stuff up here. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Let me move my camera real quick if I can do that. If I move my camera, oh, I can only go, oh, there we go. You know, so I've got KG Tropicals, we've got Sergeant Tanks there, we've got Steenfod Aquatics right there. I've got some more shirts on the way to show some more love, but in general, you know, I love to support other YouTubers. And, you know, especially kids that don't ask me for anything. Flynn's never asked me for anything. The Fish Life is another one. Super sweet kid. Met him in person. I think he's really smart. Speaks like 5 different languages. And he's like, I don't even know. I think he's like 13 or something. Like his birthday was coming up soon. And so, yeah, in general. I got a super chat, though. Don't want to let that go away. Jonathan Balderas says, I know duckweed is not technically a live food. I think it is, so we're good. But I would like to be able to buy some duckweed for my goldfish. Where do I suggest to look to buy it? So I might recommend you buy it on Aquabid, and here's why. I sell it on my website. I've had to raise the price to $5 a portion. We give a pretty decent portion, but we were selling out, and I know that seems insane. Like, you're like, there's no way duckweed replicates really fast. We have so many people ordering so many portions, we were running out. I actually bought duckweed from the wholesaler this week. To supplement what we have going, which is insane, and I gotta convert it, and I gotta, you know, get it, make sure it's nice and clean before we're shipping it out and stuff like that. But you could buy it from us, and we'll ship it out, and you get a decent sized portion and all that. But you know, it might be cheaper on Aquabid. If you're ordering $100 worth of stuff, it's gonna be cheaper for us because it's just free shipping at $100. But where else? Who else could you really order it from? I don't know who else is selling duckweed off the top of my head. So those are the two off. eBay, I'm sure you can go on it as well. But, you know, it's basically $11 if all you wanted is duckweed. But hopefully you needed some other things, and you can kind of combine all that shipping. And so it's just $5 for a decent-sized portion of duckweed for you. Let's see here. Flip Aquatics is finally here. That's another guy. I'm waiting for his shirt, actually. I want to get him up on the wall. He did a big shrimp import order, and he did a cool fish room tour that came out today. The guy bred a lot of plecos, live bears, bellasonics, which is a fish I haven't bred yet, which I want to play with. That's the pike live bear. And so make sure you check out his channel. The guy has over 70 tanks, pretty cool, in Erie, Colorado. I'm going to have to see if I can't connect to that guy because I go there in about 2 weeks. What is it, April 5th or something like that? I am in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, to speak at the club. And you can check Facebook. And if you're not signed up, by the way, for our newsletter, we're putting stuff like this in our newsletters, and you know, you're getting first looks at a bunch of stuff and that kind of stuff. You just go to our website and click newsletter, put in your email, and boom, you're signed up for Team Aquarium Co-op. Let's see here. Steenfod Aquatics, bringing the dollar. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Let's see. I agree. Flynn is an awesome dude. The other kid you're talking about is George, a.k.a. Coral Frag, or Coral Fish 12G. Yeah, that's the kid I'm talking about. I always think of him, I can only think of him in his video that kind of went viral of him holding the fish he smuggled back on the airplane. I just always, that pops into my brain. So yeah. And then Reef and Library Aquatics, he's got a channel too. You can check him out. Would a Phoenix Stingray be able to provide at least a medium light to 20 tall, or should I go with something else? No, Maggie, I would go with the Stingray. I love that light on a 20 tall. I'm running a ton of them out there. My whole store is that. I love that light. I think it is maximum bang for your buck. I suspect I could actually carpet dwarf baby tears if I injected CO2. I bet you if I really babied it, I could pull it off. I think it's amazing. Do I think egg crates are good for substrate? For what? Like, substrate for, like, egg cartons? Like, for crickets? Or do you mean, like, to keep something from digging? I'm not quite sure on that. My guppies are at 64 degrees. They're fine, but not breeding. Will they breed at this temp? Matthew, they probably need to get a little bit, a little bit warmer to breed. I bet you at about 68 they'll do it. Tori Cook said, "Hey, Corey, just got here. Didn't get a notification." Well, this is a travesty. Do me a favor. I never ask for this. Do me a favor and, like, go on your phone or wherever you're at right now and click that, click that bell thing or the little icon that says get notifications. That is like the way to hack YouTube. So if you guys are sitting at home eating tacos and you're not watching YouTube and you're just devouring tacos thinking about how cool I am, which I'm assuming that's all what we do. I mean, even I do that. I sit in my living room eating tacos going, Corey, you're so cool. And then your phone goes, oh man, Corey's live, or Corey just put out a new video. If you go watch YouTube, I get like insane amounts of street YouTube cred because YouTube goes, oh, Corey, you got people to put their tacos down and come and watch YouTube. We're going to give you extra brownie points for that. So if you do that, it's super duper good for the channel, and maybe we can make more cool things happen. But if you do that, hopefully it won't bug out like it did for Tori because that's no good. But yeah. Oh, man. I don't know if you're trying, so Wushu Jimmy says, Corey, can't you see sometimes your knowledge just hypnotizes me? I'm trying to think, is that Notorious B.I.G.? I think that is. But anyway, having fun and keep dropping the knowledge bombs. I'll try. My favorite thing is I love to do research and then I love to share. And so, like, I'm really trying to push natural aquariums. I'm really trying to play with that. And today when I was putting, there might be some more plants back here, but as I'm planting, I'm thinking, I was thinking about how I really want to research in depth live rock in salt water. I want to know how dense does the porosity have to be of the rock, and then how thick it needs to be so that we can colonize anaerobic bacteria in the center. Because what I'm thinking is, the world's not going to believe me that a deep sand bed or gravel bed, that type of thing, is good. But if I could convince them to put a piece of lava rock this big in their aquarium, and I knew it generated this much anaerobic bacteria and ate nitrates and stuff for them, then that would be super duper beneficial. So I want to nerd out on that for like 8 hours, really learn about it. I want to figure out, is it after 1 inch in, enough oxygen doesn't penetrate, so therefore it's going to become anaerobic, stuff like that. Because I know things like biohome and stuff that you put in your canister filter, there's too much flow and too much oxygenation going on, so it doesn't actually go anaerobic even though it says it does. So anyway, got a number. I can't talk anymore. Talking too fast. I'm the Micro Machine guy. Remember those old commercials, the Micro Machines? I wish I was that guy. So anyway, from Bedlamkin, $5 super chat. Thank you, buddy. What is the best live food for South American cichlids and the best water parameters if the tap water is super alkaline and like 9? Whoa. So, best live foods, I would try to pair them with like Goodeids, basically bigger live bearers. I think that would be the best live food if you can get them to cohabitate in the same tank. Otherwise, raise live bearers in another tank and feed them. And you've already got water that's super good for live bearers, so you're already there. If I was stuck with that water and they won't adapt, if they're already adapting to that water, great, you're golden. But if they wouldn't, like let's say you're just going, they're getting sick too often, they're not colored up that well, I would collect rainwater and mix it in, like, try like 20% rainwater, 80% tap water, see where that brings you to, and play with something like that. And when you collect rainwater, I do it in a barrel and then run a UV sterilizer in it to kill off anything in there. And you want to make sure you don't have any moss killers or anything like that from your roof or anything that, like, you don't want copper up there and stuff like that. You want to make sure that your runoff is going to be pretty clean and pure. But that's the way I'd approach it, unless you can just buy an RO unit or buy some water. I don't know how big the tanks are, but if they're big Central and South American cichlids, you're going to go through a lot of water. The other thing to do is not do a lot of water changes, set up natural, and basically as bacteria convert ammonia to nitrates, it creates acids, and over time that lowers the pH of water. So if you had an aquarium that was up for a couple of years and it dropped to like 7.0 pH, if you did 10% water changes every month, it would bring it up to 7.1 or something like that, and then it would acidify it back down. You would just do this perfect thing for your fish. So I might try something like that. Let's see. Here, I got a question for you guys. What video do you want to see me and Steenfod Aquatics make? I've got another secret YouTuber we're going to collab with. Give us some good ideas. If it was me, Bob, and random other person, what do you want to see us do? Because I know we're all going to be shooting and stuff like that. So yeah. Ooh, I'm already excited. LR Brett says, I have Lamont Mudd, so that's the guy that does my shirts and used to work for us and has been on the show. And a good friend of mine, or at least I consider him a good friend. Miss that guy. If you're watching right now, Lamont, I miss you, buddy. Working on a design for a t-shirt, though. I assume it's a t-shirt. It's going up on the wall. I want the first one, Lucas. Here's a question. Corey, if you could make your own guppy strain, how would it look? So, I'm attracted to what I don't own. So right now, I think it would be a pintail guppy. So it'd have a round guppy tail that comes to a pintail, kind of like a plume tail platy. So it'd be a shorter or a smaller tailed guppy because I'd like them to be more agile. And then I'm always partial to really solid colors. And I think in a perfect world right now, I would probably make a solid yellow guppy like the German Berlin Buttercup without that orange line on it, with that pintail on it. And then would I run like a big thumb dorsal on it? Probably. I like a bigger, showier dorsal fin. Not so big that's all floppy and hindering the fish. And it wouldn't be albino. I like the blue eye on it. So I think that's about my perfect. That nice canary yellow body, blue eye, pintail to it. I'd love to see that fish. If you own that fish, if you made that fish, contact me. I want some of that fish. Just putting that out in the universe there. So hopefully it'll get to the grapevine of the guy that developed that fish, and it comes back to me. All right, let's see here. Ooh, I know. I remembered that question earlier, and hopefully the person's still here. They asked tips for a YouTube channel. We get asked this all the time, and I say we because I talk with like Flip Aquatics, I talk with Lucas, I talk with Steenfod Aquatics. You know, we talk quite often, and a lot of people ask, and the hardest part is everyone wants to do it quick, right? And I don't think there's a way to do it quick. And that's the problem. So there's no like hack. There's no hack to go, oh, I have 100 subscribers and tomorrow I'm going to have 10,000. That's just not going to happen, right? And so be honest with yourself. That's the first thing. Like, go look at my channel and realize it took me like a year to go from 0 to 1,000. Then it took me like another year to go to like 2,000 or 2,500. Then I went from 2,500 to like 30,000 in a year, and now we're hopefully going to go from 30,000 to like 100,000 in a year. And it does grow exponentially, but there's no way to hack your way there. And so what we've been analyzing is, even if you get to come on, like let's say you're on this live stream and you pick up 300 subscribers today, that would be amazing, right? But you need to be able to grow organically, and the best way to grow organically is have a decent camera. Like this is my spare backup camera right here. This was, when I originally bought it, was $600. We got one of these used for Steenfod Aquatics. I think it was like $350 or something like that. And it does amazing video footage. So you got to invest in a decent camera. The next thing, you got to invest in decent microphone. This camera just so happens to have a good microphone. But if you're going to do this, I've got a Blue Yeti microphone. So audio quality and video are pretty important. That being said, this right here, a phone, an iPhone, man, you can run a whole channel with just this. So don't let it hold you back just because you don't have something else, but you got to have something decent, somewhere to start. Then you got to make videos people actually want to watch. I watch a lot of people make videos that, you know, you don't actually want to watch. And so, like, personally, I made a video on how to make cultures. I don't want to watch that video. I don't think it's going to be an amazing video to bring people to my channel, but I think it'll help some people, and that's why I make that video. So you need to think, what videos can I make? What's doing well? And one of the best things you can do is start traveling. Go visit someone's fish room. Go to someone's fish store. Go do things. And eventually you're going to find a style that's working for you. Just so happens on my channel at the moment, unboxing videos are doing really well. Fish store tours of my own store. And then fish room tours are doing really well. So those are the styles that are doing well for me. That being said, like a DIY video doesn't do that well on my channel. So you got to find some stuff that's working well for you and just know that it's a grind. I can make a video today on the same subject I made a video on 2 years ago, and that video might only have 6,000 views. I put it out tomorrow, it's going to get 6,000 views no matter if it's good or bad. Hopefully I made it better, I learned a lot, I got better equipment, that type of thing. But really, like, I think Jimmy or Shishimi Whiskey is one of the best examples of how to grow a YouTube channel reasonably fast. Network with other YouTubers, and don't go and ask for the shoutouts. I don't think he's ever asked for one. Maybe he has, I don't know. But go be in their live streams, be helpful, don't ask to become a mod, but just hang out and be a generally good person. That's the best way. Be a good person. People are attracted to good personalities. That's the good thing. And then eventually, someone's going to go, hey, yeah, you've been hanging out. Good job, Flynn. Good job, Lucas. Good job, you know, the Fish Forum. Good job, you know, Caleb's RC Crawlers, Reef and Library Aquatics, the Fish Beast. You know, there's a lot of people, and eventually you're going to get that shout out. And here's the thing. Here's what people don't realize. Let's say I could send 10,000 people to your channel tomorrow. Are you even set up to hold them there? Like, you got to have good graphics. You got to have good videos. But if I tell someone on the street, oh man, you got to go eat at this taco restaurant. They got the best tacos ever. And they show up, and it's like, looks like it's been an abandoned building. There's half a chance they just turn around and leave going, oh, I must not be at the right place. You got to make sure that if the traffic makes it to your way, they want to stay there. Make sure it's an inviting environment. There's a lot of prep work that needs to be done. You got to do probably a couple months of work before really people start sticking. And that means they land and they go, I like what this person's doing. I want to see more of what they do. And so that's the hardest thing. And every year that goes on, you're going to look at your stuff you did last year and go, that was garbage. Why was I doing that? And if you're doing your job right, you're excelling and getting better. And I like to think that I'm trying to get better, but at the same time, I'm developing a lot of things, you know, the business, online business, YouTube. If I only ever did YouTube, I think I would excel a lot faster. But any given day, you know, there's a fire to put out over here. Oh, we ran out of stock on that. Oh, this person has a problem online. I still want to teach. I want to go visit your guys' local clubs. But, you know, devise a plan, start working on it, and put in time. If you're not spending 20 hours a week, and I'm talking legit 20 hours, you're not going to be in the realm of a serious YouTuber if that's what you're trying to do. If you're putting in 3 hours a week, you're going to get 3 hours a week work out of it. Just like if you want to be a professional tennis player and you only practice 3 hours a week, you're probably never going to get to that upper echelon. And in fact, you're going, well, you know, you might have to practice 80 hours a week. You're right. There's YouTubers that are probably putting in 80 hours a week. I can't put that many in, but I put in as many as I can. So, yeah. All right. So that's what I got on YouTube for everyone's, you know, wanting to start up a channel. And, you know, a good reason, you don't have to go and try to make it a career. A great reason to do YouTube is to document what you're doing so you can go back 3 years from now and go, oh, I loved that take. I should do it again. Or why were they doing so good then but not now? And, yeah, so. Gavin Reed says, why is there ash in fish food? So ash, I believe the definition of that is it's basically the ash content. So that means like bones and stuff like that. I believe it's everything. How do they... I got to research how to do it or how they define it. But it's something like... I know it's bones and stuff that like if you were to like burn the food, that's what's left or something like that. It's something that's like not even usable by fish, but there's other stuff that's not usable by the fish. But there's a certain ash content, and basically I think of it as how much bones and things like that is in this food. And it's filler. It's not necessarily bad. There's always going to be some, and in fact, if there was none, I'd be like, how would they pull that off, you know? But yeah, that's what it is. Whew, all right. Aquarium Co-op. I want to get Tiger Oscars and a gold nugget pleco. Do I have any? I might have a gold nugget pleco in stock. I don't carry Tiger Oscars. We can order them up. Wild caughts, anything you want, usually. Let's see. Do Daphnia carry parasites? And is there any way to culture them parasite-free? You could do it indoors, which is much more difficult, but that would be a way to do it parasite-free. But in general, I've never seen them really carry parasites, so I don't worry about that. Someone asked, they're new to Aquarium Co-op and want to know how they can buy from me. aquariumcoop.com. I'll type that in the chat. www.aquariumcoop.com. We sell plants, dry goods, some snails now, that kind of stuff. And, you know, order it. We'll ship it out in the USA. Lone Soldier 1313 says, greetings from Germany. I've got an L181, and I can't feed him mosquito larvae because he will suffocate. How can I raise him fast? I've got neons in my tank, and I want to feed him live food. Brine shrimp, you know, just baby brine shrimp. Once they kind of die out or they get low, they'll just jump on them and eat them. So do live brine shrimp, and then now I want to talk about breeding brine shrimp. That's one of my favorite things to do, and I haven't done it in a while, so maybe I'll do it this summer. But brine shrimp, when they're happy and they're this big or so, they're live bearers. So it's super fun. They just go, boom, here's new live bearing, you know, shrimp. So you just got to keep salt water outside, and the water will turn green, and they eat it, and they do all those things. And it's super duper low maintenance. You just go in there with a net and just catch your pure gold, walk over to your favorite tank, watch them be in pure bliss. And it's super duper cool. So I think I'll do a video on that in my way back channel. So my own channel, Corey McElroy, which a few of you have found that channel, Corey McElroy. It's got some of my oldest videos ever where I had a ghetto camera and it's just me playing outside. That's when I very first wanted to start documenting playing with fish outside. That's why I started, if you know that. And so some of my oldest videos are there. And so yeah, you know, kind of bring me back to my roots. That's way before I owned a store or anything like that, or even thought I was going to open a store. That was just me nerding out with breeding fish outside. So yeah. Let's see. What do you guys... So let me bring this up. Me and, or Steenfod Aquatics, Bob and I, we have purchased the plane tickets and the hotel room for Chicago. We're there. There's no backing out now. Unless I have like a taco attack or something, you know. Kidney gives out, got to replace it with a taco. But what do you guys want us to do? I'm thinking a get-together somewhere, taco place. Does that sound reasonable? Does anyone know Chicago like the back of their hand and they're like, dude, it just so happens I own a fish warehouse, or I've got the coolest fish room on the planet. It's 20 minutes away. We could all drive back there and, you know, drink coffee and sip Mountain Dew and eat tacos or something like that. But I want to try and put something together, you know, and I don't want it to be like an Aquarium Co-op meetup. I want it to be like YouTube community meetup. Anyone can show up, any YouTuber, not even a YouTuber. If you just want to show up and talk fish nerd, we are there to talk fish nerd. And I know like Flip Aquatics is interested in it, and I'm trying to get some ideas. I don't know that I can necessarily like rent out like a banquet hall or something like that, because what if I, you know, I put on the big show, I put on the emperor's robe, and I do all these things, and then there's like 4 people, and we just wasted a ton of money. Could have donated that to charity or something if we're just wasting... Well, not that that's a waste of money. I'm just saying if we're going to waste money, I got way better avenues to put it into than that. So, you know, I want to kind of like feel it out. I'd rather have it be like, wow, 400 people showed up to this guy's fish room. Next year, we'll do something epic. Then do something epic, and 4 people show up, and it's a colossal letdown. So... yeah, let us know down in the comments after this, or on Bob's channel, or Flip Aquatics, any of these guys. Lucas wants to do it too, so we'll see what we can do. Ooh, $1 gallon sale starts next Sunday or something like that. Is that true? Ryan McCullough says, am I still coming to St. Louis? I haven't bought the tickets yet. I'm not saying I'm not going yet. I just haven't bought the tickets to it yet. And I'm still on the fence. I might do it. It's a library convention. So yeah, not sure. Ryan McCullough. Let's see here. What temp range do brine shrimp handle outside? Can you explain the process further? In my experience, they handled it like down into the 50s all the way up to like the 90s in terms of water temp. And brine shrimp are super duper hardy, and that's why they can go to like hyper salinity, where the salinity is crazy high and almost no other organism on the planet can. And so really you get quite a long breeding season outside. And mostly all you got to do is put them in there and then get the water to bloom, either green or put like a handful of grass clippings in there. And it's, you know, you're going to have to try pretty hard to really crank out brine shrimp, but this is an easy, an easy to do, harvest a few for your most prized shrimp kind of deal. So, Corey, do a get together. I'm from Chicago. Might be the easiest to keep it by the convention. Yeah, that's my thought. My thought is, hopefully the closer to the convention, the better. I wonder what hotel. Maybe the hotel room, because we're not staying at the hotel convention hotel. Maybe the hotel we're staying in's got like a board meeting room or something we could do. I might look into that. Maybe I'll call them. That might be cool. Let's see. Guys, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Thank you, The Fish Life. Sam helped me out there. I'm missing Steenfod Aquatics comments. It's just a blur to me. I apologize. Hey, Corey, I can guarantee you I'll bind 4 people. I'll find 4 people. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to put them in the chokehold, bind them up. We don't want to kill our fans. We want to nerd out with them. Let's see. Have people pay ahead and you'll be good. So my goal would be that no one has to pay, because I don't want it to be a pay thing. I want it to be people show up. This is a way, hopefully, not that we can give back, because I always think it's weird when it's like, oh, we're giving back. Like, not that I value, our YouTuber time so much, but I want it so that people can show up and have a good time. My favorite thing is to watch 2 people come together and nerd out about a common subject. Meanwhile, I'm off in the background just doing my thing. Like, that's the best thing. It's not so that everyone can interact with me. It's so that we can all interact with each other. And it's always been super duper fun whenever I've done it. So, let's see. Yeah, that's a good question. Fish Beast, are you going to Chicago? You should fly to Ireland. I would love to go to Ireland, Kaz. Yeah, it could happen someday. The old videos must be private. No, they should be there, Ramphonic. There's videos there. At least I think they're... Yeah, people have commented on them. Let's see. I could probably... Well, I'm not going to bother finding the channel right now. Let's see. Yep, next Sunday's a $1 a gallon Petco sale. I went and asked today. So here's an update I have. You heard it from me first. I got an email from my sales rep that sells me Aquarium tanks, and they said there is a shortage on annealed glass. What does that mean? In glass nerd terms, that means glass that's extra strong but is not tempered. So that means no longer, like basically 40 breeders, 55s, 29s, stuff like that. A lot of the tanks that we used to be able to drill, in this sale, we won't be able to drill. So realize there's some risk there, and we're going to find out real quick how much of a shortage there is. At the Chicago experience, get all YouTubers, you, Rob, Bob, etc., and everyone has to get kissed by the sea lions. Yes, I agree. We'll try to make that. That was a good time. Those sea lions were fun. I loved those sea lions. It was good. Can I do a video on Malaysian trumpet snails? I'll try to sneak that in. I probably should. Anyone here play CSGO? I know some people do. Yeah. On Facebook or YouTube? Oh, this would be on YouTube, Ramphonic. Sorry about that. It's a channel on YouTube, and it's Corey McElroy, I think is what it's called. Yeah, it was my first ever YouTube account, and I was just uploading. Like, some of the videos are just called like video number 4.mts, because it was like as raw as it could be. Because I was just linking the videos like on fish forums and stuff, like, look what I did, you know, and like emailing to people like, check it out, I did this. And so it's kind of fun. Let's see. Find a restaurant that has a meeting room. Yeah, Marianne Young. I'm hoping someone lives in Chicago and knows like the correct room and that has like good food. Like I don't want to get like 100 people together and then be like, guess what? I brought you to the worst food in the city. You're welcome. You know, like that's a bad time too. So hopefully someone knows. And because, you know, for me, you know, you're looking at a map and you're going, yeah, it seems close. And then you get there and you're like, what do you mean it's 4 one-way streets and there's construction going on? You'll never be able to get there. Like, that's not a good thing either. So, are night gobies brackish water? They are. Can they be kept in full fresh? Maybe for a time, but they are brackish water fish. Tips on raising cories, bronze cories. I've got mulm, but what else? Get yourself a microworm culture. That would help you quite a bit. And live baby brine. Easy mode after that. Let's see. We got 15 minutes left. We all going to the IHOP, says Steenfod Aquatics. Could be. Corey, when you call the hotel, tell them you guys will promo their hotel and ask for a free room to hold the get-together in. Oh, interesting, Rob. That could be a thing. Yeah, maybe we could do that. I mean, I'm scared of doing that kind of stuff because I feel like that starts the line into becoming like I don't know, like the drama rock star. Like, I don't want it ever to get to a point where Corey demands blue peanut butter M&Ms in one bowl and red in the other bowl before he shows up to do the event. Like, you know, so I'm okay with paying for stuff too, but, you know, that might be an okay thing. Be like, do you have a space? You know, or maybe it could be like, what if we get a bunch of other people to, you know, use this hotel for this event? You got something to help with? Maybe, yeah. I mean, I'll throw it out there, but, you know, I don't know. I feel weird about that kind of stuff. I like to pay my fair share, I guess. What was that? Do fancy dress at Chicago? What was that? Oh, man. I missed it. Dang it. It scrolled by. I apologize. How frequently do I update the driftwood stock on my site? I don't know, Soul. I would say at least once a month. It kind of depends on how much we sell and how much time we get so that Kaylee and stuff like that can do it. But I'm not quite sure. Like, I haven't really tracked. I know we do. As we sell out, we go, oh, God, I got to get more up there. But I'm not quite sure on that. I should keep an old meta tank, slate bottom, and only use old equipment to show how it's done back in the day. I could, Nerdy Fish. Right on the other side of this wall, I got a bunch of vintage tanks. I got the 125 gallon out in the garage. So that could happen as well. I'm setting up a 40 gallon tank. Should I put plants in the sump? And if so, what plants? Or better, what could I put in the tank since the fish will be digging? You could do a lot of Anubias and Java ferns on wood and rock. You could put plants in the sump. You could also do a bunch of floating plants. But yeah, I like plants in the display because I think they look good. So, yeah. Have I ever tried feeding the Omega-1 Community Frozen Blend? I don't think I have. Most times, I don't like the blends of stuff because they use lesser quality bloodworms and brine shrimp and things like that. So, I typically go for the pure foods, and then I can mix them up if I need to. Just join chat. Where will we meet? Evil Frog? I don't know yet. We're trying to figure out a good place. So hopefully someone will put in the comments and we can actually start researching it. We got time. Time is on our side on this one, so don't worry about that. Let's see. Tailgating at the Chicago Aquatic Experience. Yeah, that sounds amazing, Bob, until I remember how it was like freezing cold that one day. That one day it was like raining so hard and we had to park so far away. I never walked that far in my life. I mean, it was only like a block, but this body is not made for walking. Let me just say that. Let's see here. How do I feel about buying brine shrimp eggs on eBay from China? I don't know, Adam. I haven't tried it yet. I would totally try it because I'll try it, and if it's awesome, I found a gold mine. If it sucks, I chalk it up to like, well, yeah, maybe I learned something there. You get what you pay for. I don't know. Corey, what is my favorite retro soda in my machine at the store? I think my favorite is the brownie root beer. I also like, what do I? The huckleberry during summer is choice. Like it's just so refreshing. Huckleberry. What else? For a while, I was on a Green River kick. Like I was drinking a lot of Green River. But I like the variety. Shirley Temple's good. I'll drink blue cream, orange cream, stuff like that. I try to mix it up. How often should one treat a tank for ammonia? The tank has 4 guppies in it. Well, ideally, Nicole, you'd get beneficial bacteria so you don't have any ammonia. But I like to not use things that treat for ammonia. The best treatment for ammonia is water changes and holding back food till your tank cycles, I think. I have 2 Coreys, planning to get at least 2 more, and a baby female betta. Could someone give me tips? They haven't been fighting, though. Well, that's good. Tips would be just quality food, unless you got specific, questions about, I'm wondering if they do this or that. Why am I drinking Diet Coke instead of Mountain Dew? Mostly because Diet Coke doesn't taste as good as Mountain Dew, so I drink less of it. And in theory, I drank, I don't know where it went, but I've been drinking more water and stuff like that. Mostly, I've been working, so the honest, it's not to lose weight. The honesty is, I've been working so much on a computer, I just sit here and code and answer emails and do stuff like that. Pretty soon, it's been 12 hours, and I've drank like this much of a liquid, and if I'm only going to drink that much, I want it to be water. I want to try and rehydrate my body, because what can happen, and it sucks, because I take it out on my poor wife, is let's say I work really hard from like 8 a.m. and pretty soon it's 8 p.m., she gets off work, and then I realize I have this raging headache because I haven't eaten or drank anything like all day pretty much. And then she wants to talk and, how was your day? And I'm just like, have a killer headache. So I'm trying to get better work/eating habits. And it's not good because I'm a workaholic. So I'm trying to replace some of that Mountain Dew and stuff with water to just help rehydrate myself. Where is the best place to buy Rubbermaid stock tanks? Where did I get mine? I think I have a video of this on the channel. But I buy them anywhere you could buy like cattle troughs and stuff like that. So I buy them from co-ops, which is like Cenex and stuff like that, where you could buy farm feed. Like anywhere you could buy hay and stuff like that. Usually they'll have cattle troughs, and the Rubbermaid's the most common one. And I find that the 100 gallons a sweet spot. They're like, anywhere between 70 and $100. The 150 gallons, like $200. Like that doesn't make sense. And the 70 gallons only like $5 cheaper than the 100 gallons. So I like the 100 gallon ones. Let's see. I work for a park district literally 10 minutes away from the convention center in Arlington Heights. I can see if I can get our banquet room for a get together. See, that's what I'm talking about. There's got to be people in that community that can make something happen. Yeah, Steve, just ask lightly, like don't impact your job in any way. Just say like, hey, could I do a get together for me and X amount of people here, and what would it take? And if they like give you any pushback, just drop it. Like I don't want anyone to like inconvenience themselves with something like this, but that sounds super duper cool. And then the second thing of that is to figure out how we carpool using Ubers to get over there, or like if enough people live locally, they can they'll allow people into their car or something like that. And so we'll see. Hard to get anywhere in Chicago. I swear I nearly, they say Chicago is the most dangerous city in the world. It's not from guns. I swear it's from potholes and construction on the roadway. Lucas and Steenfot, Bob, they can attest to that. It was some scary driving we were doing. Let me tell you what. So, almost 50K. It's true. It's true. You guys, I think it's a super cool video. Jimmy put together a masterpiece of a video to commemorate 50,000. I think it's super duper cool. And, as I told Jimmy, I think I got something in my eye. Oh, geez. It was a pretty good video. That'll come out when we hit 50K. So hopefully you guys will watch it and enjoy it. I hope so. A lot of cool stuff in there, I think. I think it came together pretty good. I think it showed Jimmy's talents really well. And I hope you guys enjoy it. That's, I wouldn't pay someone to make something like this for you guys not to enjoy it, but I hope it comes across correctly. So, let's see. We know you do Skype. Can you do FaceTime? I've never done it. But if you needed me to do it, I could pull it off probably. Like, obviously, my phone should be capable of doing it. I do Skype, I do Google Hangouts. I'm sure I could figure that out as well. I just haven't done it in the past. I've thought about doing this. I thought about trying to add another show, whether it's live or not, I don't know. And people give me their phone numbers, I call them up, and then we have it play, and they ask me questions, and I talk about it, instead of it being a chat format. And so it would be like, on Facebook or Instagram or something like that, you guys send me the number, I call you up, I give you a minute, we go, what do you want to answer today? Boom, we do it. Maybe it's cool, maybe it's super duper boring, I don't know. Yeah, let's see here. I am emotional. I'm a big softie, just like Flip Aquatics, behind the scenes. I put up a strong front, but, no one... Who doesn't get a little emo when they're looking at puppies and kittens and, cute stuff and, stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think you guys like the video, but what do I know? Let's see. Should you aerate a Daphnia culture? Yeah, probably. A light aeration. You don't want to, mix them up too much, but we definitely want to keep dissolved oxygen pretty high. Let's see. How big of a tank do Siamese alligators need, and do I ship to Canada? We don't ship to Canada, unfortunately. You can get Easy Green on Amazon, but all of our website stuff, no. And then, how big of a tank for the SAEs? Depends. Are you kind of like renting an algae eater, and then are going to return it when it outgrows your tank, or for life? For life, I would say at least a 55. Let's see here. Don't lie, I'm soft and squishy. I am. I'm not lying. I'm a sucker for anything. I'm looking to buy those trumpet snails off your website. What are the basics I need to know about them? They're nocturnal. We added a stipulation to our website. People are getting the snails, they're opening up and going, they're dead. Snails aren't always active, especially nocturnal ones. So if you open it up and there's light on it, they're going, no, get back in my shell. And so the way you want to receive them, you get them, put them all in the corner of your tank, give them a couple of days. Probably the first night, half of them will move out, and you won't see them again because they're going to go under the gravel and stuff like that. Give them a few days. We usually ship 1 or 2 extras in there. And, they're a basic good cleanup snail. They're a live bearer. And once you get them going, you'll have more than you ever need. So, kind of a cool thing. I didn't realize we'd sell that many of them. So, yeah, kind of cool. Let's see. Is Sashimi going to Chicago? I believe so. I at least booked the hotel room so that there's a fold-out couch, which I realize that's, not a bed, but they don't make 3-bed hotel rooms, so what can you do? So I hope he's going. What do you prefer? CCAM stress guard or API stress coat? As far as maximizing fish health and minimizing stress, or any other suggestions? My absolute favorite is actually Hikari Ultimate. It also has aloe vera in it, which is basically the active thing in the stress guard and the stress coat. And it's got alkalinity buffer in it as well, which is really important for our water here because we're really devoid of that. And in general, it's what they use the big koi shows. So when people are trusting $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, $500,000 koi, they only use Hikari Ultimate because they consider it to be the best. And I sell it at my store. I like it. I'm not going to say it's strictly better than either one of those two, but it's never served me wrong, and so I don't have a reason to go try other stuff if it's working well for me. Are freeze-dried foods better than flake or pellet foods? Kind of. They're a whole food. You really need both those categories. So a whole food is good, but it's not going to be vitamin-packed like a pellet food or a flake food would be. So them in conjunction together actually work much better. So it's, really it's kind of like asking this. It's kind of like asking, is the best salad I could make better than a multivitamin, all-in-one vitamin you take each day? And it's like, well, really you kind of want both because not every vitamin will be in the salad, and these can supply some things that isn't. So that's kind of the way those kind of work together. Let's see. What do I think about the CChem food and their new filters? So for CChem food, I've tested it out. It was okay. But they don't have a store use program, so that's why I haven't really endorsed it. And their new filters, I feel, are overpriced. No, that's not true. I feel they're expensive and they're overhyped. There's a lot of features, notice the quotation marks there, that they have in there that I'm not sure are actual features. That being said, I think they're probably just as good as an AquaClear. I'm waiting till they've been out long enough to know how do they do versus an AquaClear, because they're about the same price, right? And I know the track record of an AquaClear and I like it. I don't know the track record on the Tidal filters yet. Zachariah Webb says, do you have a website? We do, aquariumcoop.com, buddy. Type that in again. Boom. Steenfot got it. My mods are on it. Thank you for all the mods for helping me out. It's truly is helpful. I appreciate it. What was that? Why are your streams with 600 people more civil than your streams you had with 300 people? I think because I ban anyone who brings any negativity. So my banned list of people is like ginormous, because what happens is this. If I wake up in the morning and like this happens all the time. Like let's talk real talk here. I wake up and there's a guy that says your content's awesome but your teeth look really bad. You're an idiot. Why are you so ugly? You should die. And then I'm like, oh, that's a great way to start the day. Because what I do is right now, real talk, I'm sleeping on my couch right now because we're remodeling our house. So we were going to put hardwood floor in the... Let me back it up here. It started out, we're putting in a doggy door in the dining room so the dogs can go in and out as they please, right? Simple enough. Then it turned out like, well, if we're going to do that, why not redo the floor? Because we have carpet, right? And they were going to the bathroom on a potty pad, and we're afraid that they're going to smell some of the enzymes that's in that carpet and use that instead of using the doggy door. So we're going to replace it with hardwood, right? In that dining room. Well, then it's like, well, if we're doing that, we should do the bedroom also. And so we get into this project, and they pull up the carpet, and they look at the subfloor, and it's a train wreck. Like, we ended up going all the way, because our addition on the house was concrete. Like, it was the addition, or our bedroom is the master bedroom, is where the garage used to be. And so it was like a DIY job. Terrible. So we had to take out all the subfloor, all that. It's now where they can start putting in floor. I think it's going to happen in the next week or two or something like that. Everyone's schedule's got to line up with all those tradesmen and everything. And so I've been sleeping on the couch, and it's just one of those things you wake up, and, the first thing you see is like, oh, you think I'm a giant idiot. Like, all right. In my mind, I'm like, well, great, then just don't watch me. Like, I get it. My teeth are messed up. And the reality is, people are like, why didn't you ever get braces? Like, well, when I did, so I grew up really poor, for one. I was on welfare, that type of thing. And that's what I think led to my business ethic, is like, I'll never be poor again. Like, I'm going to work really hard, right? But even still, when we were in a position where we could get braces, I was young enough. So I was young, my teeth were messed up, and the dentist looks at it and he's like, look, the problem is my eye teeth right here, it's with your eye teeth, they line up with your eyes, or at the corner of your mouth. They're so high that they're not sure they can actually move them with braces to correct it. So they say the easiest way is like you'd remove those, and then you'd move the rest of the teeth and make it look nice, right? The problem is, at that time, removing my teeth, my face, like I'm young, right? So let's say I'm 12 or 13 or wherever age I was. Your face is still forming. You're not an adult yet. And if you remove those eye teeth, it changes the way your face is gonna grow, right? Because you've taken things out of your skull, basically. And so it's not a good decision to do that. Well, now, here I am, and I'm 33, it doesn't bother me. It bothers other people, but it doesn't impact my life at all. I still eat, I still brush my teeth, I still do all my things. I have an amazing wife, she doesn't care. And so, like, why let someone else's vision of me impact me? So I don't. And so, when someone, anyone brings rudeness to the channel, whether it's towards me, towards another person, like if you're like, oh, Bettas can't live in a 1-gallon bowl, like, I'm just going to ban you. You're bringing negativity. If you bring it with, oh, I see here that, you've got your Betta in a 1-gallon bowl. Are you managing water temperature? How's that going for you? Like, that's not being negative. But when you just start bringing negativity, you're out. And over time, if I'm doing this every day, like, I might ban 1 to 2 people every day. It's not that many. But over time, you're filtering out all these people that are not trying to be positive. And, you know, don't get me wrong. I know everyone here watching knows I have messed up teeth. You all know I'm overweight. You also know that I do a lot for you guys, too. And you're willing to look past my flaws to get what I've got that's good. There's a lot of people that can't look past that, and that's fine. You know, there's other people that can go watch, whatever. But, you know, that's what it is. So that's the, you know, the end of the live stream, real talk there. So, yeah. Anyway, let's see here. Teeth are for eating, not impressing. I heard that. But anyway, that's how I got it so that, you know, we got... So our record today, by the way, I see it, 740 people. That's huge. At least in the fish YouTube world. I mean, I'm no Taylor Nicole Dean. I think I've seen her hit 1,700. So she's way up there. But, you know, 740, pretty banging for a live stream. And we keep it, you know, Bob noticed, we are keeping it so there's not a lot of spam. I don't know if you guys have been in some of those other chats, but yeah, it's a zoo in there. And the mods are doing a great job. We've got the bot helping. We're building a community to make it be this. And I think that's one of the most important parts is keeping that going. So, yeah. Anyway, so it's 7 o'clock. What I'm going to do is, once I end this, I'm going to get with Jimmy. I know Jimmy's probably waiting for me to make some decisions. Do we go with this thumbnail? Do we go with that thumbnail? Do we go with this edit? Do we go with that edit? We're getting stuff ready for Tuesday launch. And then we also got that 50K video, which I think is a masterpiece by Jimmy that's coming out the minute we hit 50K. Maybe it's the next day. Like if I launch, you know, a video and then 10 minutes later I hit 50K, maybe it waits till the next day or something like that. But it'll be out real, you know, real soon after that. I think you guys will enjoy it. But yeah, in general, I'm going to try and put out more videos this month. And so what does that mean? That means I'm going to try to keep at least 4 videos, well, 3 videos being produced by Jimmy a week. So that's at the level we're at now. And then the live stream, so that's 4. And then I'm going to try and sneak in another video or 2 that I edit. That's kind of my old style, so it kind of gets to a lot of people. You know, because a lot of people love my rough style. A lot of people love my new style. You know, sometimes it just doesn't make sense if I'm going to make a 2-minute video. Like, well, it doesn't make sense to have Jimmy edit the whole thing, and I'll just do it. So, but yeah, I'm going to try to put out more videos this month. We'll see. I've got traveling arrangements and stuff like that as well. You know, in the 5th or whatever, I'm going to be in Colorado. I've got the YouTube collab coming up at the end of April. I might be flying out to St. Louis. I got to buy tickets. I know I got to buy tickets. It's confirmed. I'll be speaking in Sacramento and in San Francisco in August. So that's confirmed. I'm also confirmed in Michigan this year. I'm confirmed to do Chicago Aquatic Experience. I got a very cool thing. I got the okay to do a tour of Goliad Farms, which he's a guy that does African cichlids and live bears in Texas, and his farm is totally sustainable. So I'm super excited to do that. I think that happens he wants to do it in his slower season. That's gonna be August. So we're gonna try and make that happen. But yeah, trying to put a lot of cool things together and manage everything else. Like, I think a lot of people forget, and not, you know, I'm not saying like all of you or anything, but a lot of people forget at the end of the day, YouTube itself is like its own business that I'm running. But then there's also the online business. Like, we do a lot there. And by the way, if you haven't already, buy stuff. Let's get all my employees a raise. I hope you're doing and helping out with that. If you're on the fence where you're going to buy a light today, like this week or next week, like next week, you know, if you buy it on Saturday, it won't help their sales goal and they don't get a raise. So if you're on that fence, go ahead and buy it this week and get them that raise. That'll be exciting for them. And then there's like my retail store. So there's always things going on, right? There's like relationships I got to manage with the retail store, like vendors and stuff. And then there's online stuff. And then there's things like, you know, I got to have meetings with UPS to try and get a better shipping rate to try and help more. And there's all these things going on. And so, you know, that's why I don't do the daily dose or anything like that anymore. I can choose to do like one thing. I could do full-time YouTube and I wouldn't sell you guys anything. I could do full-time retail store and I wouldn't do YouTube and sell you guys anything. But right now, basically the way it is, I'm in my store 2 to 3 days a week, about half days at that. I'm in the cloud, so to speak, watching what the online store is doing, watching what YouTube's doing, watching what the store is doing. And I've got good people in all these areas, and I'm always looking for new talent, stuff like that, to build this, you know, community as much as we can. And so my job has changed drastically. And, you know, at one point I could do daily videos and it was awesome. And then it became a point where I couldn't do it. And now I'm at a point now where, because I've got Jimmy's help, we might be able to get some more videos. And who knows, maybe 6 months from now, we've got another guy editing video, or another guy filming, or maybe Jimmy moves out to Seattle and now he's here full time. There's all these things that could happen. We don't know where we're going, but we just take it one day at a time. I try to go, every certain amount of time, like, what am I doing better or worse? Like, some days I just wake up and go, today I need to make the website better. Today I need to do this better. Today I need to make that video. And if I just try to do that most days, I think we're moving in the right direction. So thanks for everyone who's helped and hung out this long. Please Dab again for breaking the record, only because Gianne asked. Boom! Did it. And so yeah, anyway, thanks for hanging out, guys. You guys are as much a part of this as I am, because without you guys sharing content, leading people, guiding people, helping each other, none of this would actually work. Spanish subtitles are needed. So if anyone's interested in a job on doing that, I'm willing to pay for it. But the services I can hire are very expensive to convert my videos into Spanish. The problem is this: I can spend like $1 a minute. So like, it's an hour-long video, it costs me $60, and in Spanish it might cost me $120, and I might be willing to pay that. The problem is, when I say Epistogramma cockatoides orange flash, they literally have no idea what I just said. And so it's just gobbledygook right there. And so we need someone that's a fish nerd that can translate, but then also know, oh, he's talking about Epistogramma, I can follow up, and, something like that. So if you're into that, maybe we can make that work. But anyway, thanks for hanging out. Leave your comments down below. Let's put an event together for Chicago. Check out all my other, friends and YouTubers, stuff like that. And if you need any help, send an email, leave a comment, that type of thing. And I'm going to try and remember right when I get off here. One, I'm going to stand up because it's kind of sweaty. I'm going to turn all this extra lighting off. But two, I'm going to go check out, Chuck's Crazy Tanks, and give him a little channel review and try and help him out. So, do I need French translation? Possibly. In theory, in a perfect world, my videos would be translated into everything. The reality is, if you've never done translation, it's brutal. So, like, to translate an hour worth of video might take you 10 hours. Like, it's really hard because I talk really fast, and converting it takes much longer. But if you're wanting to help, and even if a few key videos, it can really help. And actually, everyone can help. Like, I've got it set so you guys could be doing translations and stuff like that, and all I gotta do is hit an accept button. So, it's the reason I have to read it is so you don't say, like, Corey's a big dumb idiot every time I say Epistogramma. But, I gotta check it. But anyway, phew. Thank you, everyone. I'm calling it a night, and yeah, we'll see you next Sunday. I gotta think of a topic, but I'll be here. Will you? I hope so. And maybe we can break 800. I don't know. We're going to have to devise a plan, because we can't break the record every week. Like, that ain't going to happen. But, if we all, maybe if everyone's grandma enjoyed it, maybe we'll get there. So, but thank you to everyone, and, I'll see you next week.